If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black.
Keep following the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, my best align.
You are listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, your host and White House correspondent. I'm in touch until you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ. And there I am, fresh for you to follow. I hope you all are staying warm. It snowed yesterday here in DC, and now a lot of it is melted, but, it's still on these streets, these cold streets. And so I hope there's something warm in your hand or something warm nearby wherever you are. Now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. But these aren't all ugly. In fact, these are more arts and culture news. Arts and culture news. Because this hour, we like to stretch out a little bit with our guest. And we like to lean into the culture and the folks who are shaping our culture. And you don't have to go too far because the 2025 Billboard Women in Music, they understand what time it is. That's why they're honoring Jenny and Erykah Badu, Glorilla, Gracie Abrams, Tyla, and more. That's right. Women dominated this year in music, and Billboard's ready to celebrate today's groundbreaking artist at its annual Billboard Women in Music event. This year's honorees include a diverse group of artists ranging from rising stars to seminal veterans, from pop and country to R&B, Latin, and beyond. The 2025 event is honoring a lot of great folks. I mean, Angela Aguilar and Jeannie, as well as Tyla and, Money Long. But Erykah Badu, if you haven't been to an Erykah Badu concert, treat yourself, don't cheat yourself. I think I've been to seven Erykah Badu concerts. How many Erykah Badu concerts you been to? Get in the group chat and let us know how many concerts you've been to. Can anybody beat 7? I don't know. That's a steep climb. And each of them have been incredibly memorable. And so be sure to be on the lookout for that. But you might already be on the lookout for this. Michael B. Jordan is discussing what he's looking for just in time for Valentine's Day, saying that I would want somebody to fit into the flow of my life. That's right. Michael B. Jordan is many things. He's an actor. He's an Aquarius, and many people's choice for Man Crush Monday. But an avid user of social media for personal reasons, he is not. In fact, he's such a promotional content only guy that when he posted a photo dump on Instagram in early December that featured intimate shots of his goings on behind the scenes, it riled up folks. It had folks riled up, particularly his fans. They were riled up in the comments, and they nearly broke the internet. Before that, apart from things related to his career, it had just been random video clips of him doing things like eating at an Italian Vista or fishing. The 38-year-old actor discussed his social media habits, or lack thereof, in the March 2025 cover story for GQ magazine, saying that that's kind of by design. He told the outlet in regards to his infrequent personal online updates. Since 2025 began, he's uploaded, guess what? Just one personal post, a video clip of him cooking in the kitchen, in which he says, this is the no fun zone to the camera. Every other post has been related to his upcoming vampire flick with Ryan Coogler, Sinners, and the sea moss beverage he co-founded in 2022 called Moss. And so, look, I'm not surprised that he's a private person. He goes to the end of the earth in his films. He is very serious about his craft, but he likes to leave a little bit more for your imagination. And so I'm not knocking it. We respect your privacy, Michael B. Jordan, and we wish you well in the love department. And I'm sure you're going to find somebody out there, who enjoys a more down key sort of life with talent like you. Moving along, speaking of talent, Mariah Carey, Chubby Checker, Cyndi Lauper, Outkast, and Fish, they all get these Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations. That's right. It's a list that also includes two sets of musical brothers who have had a public feud in recent reunion, the Black Crowes and Oasis. The Hall revealed the list of 14 performers nominated. They just released that today, including Bad Company, Joe Cocker, Billy Idol, among others. And we're here for it. I mean, go Outkast, go Mariah Carey. There's a time when, we weren't getting our due in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so we love to see it. You know what else we love to see? We love to see folks who are rooting for us give us a reason to root for them. Issa Rae becomes a club partner of the San Diego FC ownership group. Actress, producer, and entrepreneur Issa Rae, she's stepping into the sports world this week. She announced that she was announced as the latest addition to Major League Soccer's Expansion Club's ownership group. The Insecure creator joins the San Diego Football Club as a club partner. Now, Ray's initiation into the soccer club is part of the organization's partnership with, I think it's called Pave Investments. It's an African private investment firm that assisted in getting an investment group to invest in NBA Africa's entity in 2021. These collaborations align with the mission and values of the SDFC's Right to Dream Academy, offering development opportunities for the next generation of footballers around the world. And so another reason to love what Issa Rae is doing. And let me just add, if you haven't been to Issa Rae's new restaurant, Somerville, not too far from our home station, just right there on Slauson, just right before Overhill, again, run, don't walk. It is one of my favorite restaurants in South LA. It's very fancy. The ambiance is chef's kiss, and so is the food. And so if you're looking for something fun to do, or a fun place to go for Valentine's Day, or just any day, consider Somerville. And that's just me sharing with y'all. I ain't got no special partnership with Somerville. Did nobody pay me to say that? That's just me keeping it 100 with you. Speaking of keeping it 100, when we come forward, I'll be joined with philanthropist, co-founder, director, and CEO of GEANCO Foundation, Afam, Onyema. He's going to talk about his work in Nigeria, supporting some of Hollywood's A-listers, including David Oyelowo, who traveled with Afam to Nigeria. The GEANCO Foundation was established in 2005, and it both saves and transforms lives across Africa. We're going to learn so much more about that when we come forward. You are listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
They can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary.
On Saturday, February 22nd, you are invited to A Night with the Panthers, a special fundraiser dedicated to supporting Black Panther veterans who now require assistance with essential needs such as medicine, food, and housing. These Black Panther veterans championed human rights, fed the hungry, educated the community, and stood as powerful symbols of resistance and resilience. Despite their incredible sacrifices, loving and serving the people did not come with retirement plans or financial security. So, now it's our time to honor their legacy and ensure that they are cared for with the dignity they deserve. You can help by attending and supporting A Night with the Panthers, Saturday, February 22nd, 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Project 43 Team Post Center, 6841 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. For more information, contact Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Sherry Shepherd here to talk about Black health. You know what I love about us? Everything. From science to the arts, we are leading the way. But we are falling behind in getting vaccinated. Pneumococcal vaccination rates are lower among Black adults than white adults. If you're 50 or older, you're at a greater risk of getting pneumococcal pneumonia. And the CDC recommends vaccination. If you're 19 or older with diabetes like me, you're also at increased risk. Let's continue owning our own healthcare and leading the way in vaccination rates too. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte, and really excited to welcome my next guest, who is a philanthropist. He's co-founder, director, and CEO of GEANCO Foundation. I am delighted to welcome my brother, Afam.
Yes.
Afam Onyema.
Yes. Onyema. Yes.
Onyema. There we go. We got it. How are you, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well, doctor. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you're doing on the continent. I had the good fortune of being able to travel to Ghana and Tanzania and Zambia in spring 2023, along with then Vice President Kamala Harris.
Oh, wow.
It was her historic trip to the motherland. I was so compelled by it. I was or so inspired by it. I was compelled to write a book, Kamala, the Motherland, and Me. And so
wow.
I always get excited learning about the work that is afoot on the continent where my father was born and raised. And before we lean into some of the work that GEANCO Foundation is leading, I've got to get your reaction to some of the headlines that we're reading. Actions by President Trump, essentially freezing funding. They say they're not. The courts have not given them the authority to do that, but he's signed an executive order doing that, and so we're kind of in this lurch right now. But in practice, a lot of funding has been frozen. People are standing still and waiting for guidance on how to move forward. Has any of the executive orders signed by President Trump, have you seen them begin to impact your organization or organizations that you're working with?
No, it's a great question and very timely. And it's been, quite frankly, heartbreaking what's happened over the last couple of weeks. We don't directly receive money from USAID, but as I was explaining to one of our donors just recently, if you shrink the pie, then you just have more people going after fewer resources. And so it affects everyone, because those programs that are getting USAID money get cut off. They're going to have to get money from elsewhere in order to keep their life-saving, life-sustaining programs going. And so we all feel it. And as a community, a global health, global education, global impact community, we feel it acutely. And people sometimes think foreign aid is just wasted, that we shouldn't have it. But then I say, okay, well, there are babies that will be born with AIDS, HIV today that will not get treated. There are women who will not be able to deliver safely. There are children who won't be able to eat, be educated on a very basic level. And we do it with less than 1% of our overall budget. So cut all the foreign aid you want, you're cutting less than 1% of the budget. So I think people just need to understand and be educated. And when they realize, oh, this program is actually going to save lives and to help babies be born healthy and to make sure that clinical trials on malaria vaccinations, on HIV vaccinations are going to be halted in their tracks, then they'll have a better awareness of what's going on. So I hope that these things get resolved very quickly, because you're right. People are so unsure that even if they have waivers or they're able to continue going, there's so much uncertainty that this is going to cost lives. And it just breaks my heart.
Yeah, it breaks my heart too. And, it's a reminder also that, poverty, it's been said that poverty is one of the surest recruitment tools for terrorism.
Absolutely.
And so, when you look at folks across the continent and around the world, if folks can't feed themselves, they can't feed their families, right? They very quickly become very desperate. And we already know that there are bad actors around the world that will gladly welcome folks in these countries to join their cause. How concerned are you about the impact that these actions, that these executive orders will have on the stability in regions where you all operate?
No, it affects us directly in terms of organizations working in Nigeria. Northern Nigeria is a haven for terrorism. Boko Haram wreaking havoc in Nigeria and surrounding countries, and then exporting it. And so you can save $1 on educating a child in Nigeria you can not educate them and save that $1, but then you can spend $100 on military interventions with fighting terrorism, as well as immigration. Like, kind of the two things that people are really riled up about: immigration and spending this money overseas, and terrorism. We want stable countries so refugees aren't driven from their homes. We want Nigeria stable so the Nigerians can build up their own communities, their own nation. You don't want to destabilize their countries or help to stabilize their countries. So then they head to Europe and they head to the US, and then we have this problem with immigration. So it's just a very short-sighted way of looking at the problem. And you're definitely right. It's terrorism. Terrorists do use this as a tool. They say, the West has turned their back on you. You can't trust them. Look at what they're doing to our communities. And it's just when the rhetoric coming out of the US is so negative and sharp and demeaning, you can't be surprised when recruits are driven to these organizations. It's very heartbreaking because that's exactly what we all don't want. So hopefully, again, it gets resolved in DC and the government. I know other organizations are stepping up their giving. I hope individuals step up their giving and they just realize that this is so important, not only for our own well-being and our own national character, but just being compassionate and being kind of seeing past all the hype and the rhetoric out there and just realizing this is in the end, whatever reform is needed, we're talking about saving lives of the poorest and most vulnerable among us.
That's exactly what we're talking about. And, look, it is a very troubling state of affairs for philanthropy in particular. Talk to us about what you're hearing from leaders in philanthropy. I can only imagine that folks are daunted by how they may be expected to respond to the need with the United States government stepping back from its commitments.
Absolutely. And I had dinner with the leader of a philanthropy yesterday, and the conversation began on that somber note of, we have half of our funding cut. And it's not even you're getting your funding cut in 2026 or even at the end of 2025. It's your funding has been cut. Like, you had money today, you don't have money tomorrow. And I think it's the abruptness of it that people in general plan, but people in nonprofits and social impact plan years in advance. Like, you have these budgets and grants, and you're able to take in this many people to feed or to educate or what have you. And to be told today, actually, that money is cut off, money that was already agreed to. These are money. This is money that's been allocated, that's been agreed to, that's been planned on. And so I just I've heard about organizations that are calling women who are in HIV/AIDS trials saying, don't come in today. We can't give you your drugs today. Like, literally, don't come in. If you come in, this place is going to be closed. Food service stations that are like, don't come in. We have no food for you. And we're afraid to spend, like, they're literally at the ports, wheat and grain and food from the US. So it's hurting US farmers too, because the money from AID is the wheat and the grain, the food are bought in the US and sent to these places. So you're actually hurting farmers in Kansas and Iowa and Illinois. And it just, again, clearly hasn't been thought through. And yes, AID needs reform, government needs reform, every sector needs reform, but there's a renovation of a house, and there's burning it to ash and trying to build it up again. And that's the stark difference we're dealing with today.
Yeah, and you really zero in on an aspect of this story that we don't talk nearly enough about, which is change management.
Yeah.
Right. Like, there have been changes in administrations and nations around the world, since the beginning of time. Right. And American democracy is no different in that, the changing of the guard. But the pace at which we begin to steer the ship in a different direction, the pace at which we evaluate what's working and what's not working, right? I think this pace is really stifling our ability to limit any sort of harm that's done. And this is an incredibly difficult environment for a lot of people. I think there are a number of folks that thought they were voting here in the United States to make life more affordable. And I think folks a few weeks in may be experiencing some buyer's remorse, but we don't have the ability to step back and redo an election or make a different choice. We have to live with it.
Yeah.
And we have at least another 2 years until the midterm elections here in the United States, 4 years until the next presidential race. And so, we can't look back. We have to only look forward. And so talk to us about how GEANCO Foundation in this environment is beginning to do that, beginning to look forward in spite of some of the political and economic headwinds that are blowing.
I think for us, we very much try to root our work in the actual work. Like we have donors who I'm sure of all political stripes and up and down the spectrum. And I just say, do you care about women delivering safely? Do you care about babies being vaccinated? Do you care about girls being educated? And if you do, welcome. You're part of our GEANCO family. And I think just focusing on that message and realizing that there are going to be headwinds and there are going to be issues and people are going to have thoughts politically left, right, and center, but we're just focused on this work. And if you're with us in this work, let's do it. Let's do it. And let's realize that in all this tumult and all these challenges, we have got to stay focused on the people who matter the most. And those are the people we're serving in Nigeria who care less, honestly, about what's going on politically here, because their issues are so much more, it's survival for them. It's not even, will I eat tomorrow? Can I keep my girls safe? Can I survive medically and health wise? So I try to keep focused on those factors and deal with all the issues here, but also realize that they're dealing with so much more and bring a sense of humility to the work that we're doing.
Oh, well, it's a sense of humility that's clearly caught the attention of a lot of folks here in the United States, particularly A-listers in Hollywood like David Oyelowo, who has traveled with Afam to Nigeria. We want to hear about that journey that you took with David Oyelowo and company. And we want to lean into learning even more about the work of GEANCO Foundation, which you established back in 2005 to both save and transform lives, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. The mission of your organization has never been more important than in this moment. And we want to lean into that and learn about that when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We're live here with Afam Onyema.
Yes.
Afam Onyema. I'm Nii-Quartelai, and this is a very African edition of A More Perfect Union. More will become forward.
If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice,
You tuned into the right place.
A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Trump administration is pulling back $80 million in FEMA funds meant to help New York City with the migrant crisis. Controller Brad Lander says the money was yanked after Elon Musk claimed it was being used for luxury hotel stays. He's now calling on Black Mayor Eric Adams to take legal action to get it back. Wall Street is closing lower after a hotter than expected CPI report and Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's testimony, where he noted progress on inflation but said more work remains. The FCC is investigating Comcast over NBC Universal's DEI policies to ensure no violations of civil rights laws. And the attorney who won Rodney King's $3.8 million civil case is headed to prison. William Grimes was sentenced to 18 months for failing to pay $2.4 million in taxes and must repay $7.23 million. King, a Black man brutally beaten by LAPD in 1991, died in 2012. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
San Fernando, it's still tough on the 5. Northbound at San Fernando Mission Boulevard, 2 right lanes are off limits to clean up after an earlier crash. Delays loading up away from Sunland Boulevard. West LA, earlier crash wrapping up 405 southbound at the 10. All lanes open. Delays backing up from Wilshire Boulevard. Also, let's head out to Alhambra. This wreck is out of lanes on the 10 eastbound before Fremont. The traffic is a mess away from Soto Street.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The final head coach vacancy in the NFL was filled Wednesday morning. Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore was hired by the New Orleans Saints. Moore's hiring caps an unflattering offseason coaching cycle for the NFL. Of the 7 NFL openings for a head coach position, only 1 went to an African-American. Former Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn was hired by the New York Jets. The NFL will start the 2025 season with only 5 black head coaches, down from 6 in 2024. I'll do the math for you. Only 5 of the NFL's 32 teams have a black head coach. That's 15% of the workforce among NFL head coaches. The other 4 black head coaches are Mike Tomlin at Pittsburgh, Todd Bowles at Tampa Bay, Raheem Morris with Atlanta, and D'Amico Ryan at Houston. The NFL has been a strong believer in diversity, equity, and inclusion, but a lot more work needs to be done. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Pick up the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
February is African American and Black History Month, and LA County Library is celebrating the voices and achievements of African Americans throughout the month. Join us for art workshops, family story times, and more. Revisit classic literature from African American authors and discover new favorites. It's a month of learning and fun for library lovers of all ages. Find out more at www.lacountylibrary.org and celebrate Black History Month at LA County Library.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. The Live Your Life organization mentors young women, helping them break negative mindsets and see beyond their surroundings. Through career exposure and hands-on training, they're encouraged to think big, stay focused, and make positive choices. Founded by Nikisha Mama Boo Smith, who transformed her life to become a community leader. Live Your Life is changing lives, but they need your help. They're raising funds to keep their new building open and expand their program. Your donations will support food, clothes, hygiene products, and holiday giveaways. Visit liveyourlife32.com. That's LIVEYOLIFE32.com to help today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me.
National news of consequence, informed opinion,
And analysis beyond the headlines.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and I've really enjoyed getting a sense of the state of humanitarian aid, given some of the recent headlines, with a leader that is on the front lines. I am delighted to again be in conversation with Afam Onyema. He is the CEO of GEANCO Foundation, and they've been pretty busy. I mean, look, the year just started, and you all are off to the races. There was a creative arts summit that commenced in Nigeria the end of January, included some pretty famous folks, A-listers like David Oyelowo and his wife Jessica, among others. Talk to us about why David Oyelowo has been so supportive of the work that GEANCO Foundation is doing, and what brought him and Jessica, among others, to Nigeria in January.
Absolutely. So I started GEANCO in 2007 in Los Angeles, and we were doing healthcare programs and medical missions and surgeries. A mutual Nigerian friend in about 2014 said, "Hey, my friend David Oyelowo, he's playing Martin Luther King in Selma. He's been a successful actor, and his profile is really starting to blow up. And he wants to use his increased presence and voice and stature to help give back to Nigeria. And I think he would really enjoy getting to meet you, learn about GEANCO. So we connected, we met, he invited me to his home very graciously. He talked about how he wanted to help these girls who were being kidnapped by Boko Haram, being harassed and abused. And he said, wouldn't it be beautiful if we can put them back in the school, educate them? And so it was really in his living room where we created the David Oyelowo Leadership Scholarship for Girls, where we find girls and give them education, leadership training, healthcare. And he told me, I know actors can be kind of flighty and uncommitted, but once I believe in something and commit to something, I am in. And he really has been in since that day one, and has really rallied Hollywood to come support us as well. Our first big donation came from Oprah, a dear friend of his that got us going, and through other connections, Jimmy Kimmel, Charlize Theron, the Oscars, and what have you. And so we had the scholarship. We went from 3 girls at one school to 44 girls at 4 schools throughout the country, where we have partner schools where the girls go. And so we done a variety of different leadership trainings and STEM education summits. We did a mental health summit with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle last year, which was amazing. And then we thought, well, let's have David come and get these girls exposed and introduced to the creative arts. And really, whether it be painting, dance, acting, writing, photography, because girls in Africa in particular are just told, obviously, grow up, get married, have babies, and at most maybe get some education, but become an engineer or a doctor or something practical. The idea of even just being introduced to the artistic side of life, which can help you in so many different ways, is not an option. So we thought, let's open this up to them. And so David and his wife Jessica came, and it was just a magical experience with them, and seeing the girls express themselves in a way they never truly have before.
And for folks who are less familiar, as an organization, GEANCO leads these complex surgical missions in Nigeria. As I understand it, you all have a pretty incredible system of modern, solar-powered rural family clinics assisting poor, vulnerable, pregnant women in safely delivering healthy babies. You're vaccinating infants. You're providing high-quality care to men and boys. So it's not just girls, but there are also services for men and boys, in addition to donating laptops and a library, a lab, a sports facility to schools. And as you just mentioned, David Oyelowo's leadership scholarship. And so it sounds like you all are really meeting the needs of folks in parts of Nigeria that may not be getting nearly enough attention.
Well, we're trying. We want to balance doing as much as we can without doing too much. And it's always a tricky balance because there's so much need. But we've organically grown. As I mentioned, we started with healthcare and the missions, and then started to build the clinics. And then I got introduced to David Oyelowo, as well as another British Nigerian actor, Chiwetel Ejiofor, whose family has a school in Nigeria. And it just started to grow. And you realize that for the amount of money that we spend in US dollars goes a long way in Nigeria. So you can build a really great solar powered clinic for $80,000 instead of $800,000. You can educate a girl in our program for $5,000 a year instead of 50 or more. So it's just really grown. And again, we've been just so humbled by the support we've received from everyone. Obviously we have some really great high profile supporters in Hollywood, and it's an honor to have their support, but we have great supporters all over the country, in Nigeria, around the world, and people who give, a couple dollars a month to people who give much larger amounts. And we just want to keep growing the GEANCO family. And we feel like we're just barely scratching the surface of the need. So there's a lot more work to do.
And speaking of the need, I'd never heard this before, but I learned that, in a country where millions of young women are grappling with period poverty and mental health challenges, GEANCO Foundation has really been on the front lines of change. What do you mean by that? Period poverty and mental health challenges for people who are less familiar.
Absolutely. So period poverty, girls who have that time of the month where they have their menstrual cycle, because they don't have the proper menstrual undergarments or tampons or different feminine products, they leave school. because it's the embarrassment, they don't want to be seen in that state. And so every month you have girls leaving school, missing in the end weeks over the course of a year, weeks of school. And so just simply providing feminine hygiene products and menstrual undergarments and educating them, like, this is what's happening to your body. It's amazing how many girls don't know about periods and menstruation. And so we were just so honored to partner with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in particular. We're really focused on menstrual health and period poverty. And then Prince Harry, and both of them, but Prince Harry in particular, on mental health and making sure that these kids, these teens, get exposed to both. And again, both of them are underrated needs and needs that are underutilized and underserved. And so we're really honored to have their support, and they're shining a really big spotlight on these issues. And we're just really proud to be partnering with them.
So, Afam, tell us a little bit about you, a little bit more about your leadership journey. I know that you were born in Chicago, and you're one of 4 children. You went to Harvard and worked for Hill and Knowlton, for example, doing a lot of PR work before you went to Stanford Law School. Mr. Vice President of the Black Law Students.
Yeah.
See you, brother. But you traveled to Ghana. Tell us about that trip to Ghana that changed the trajectory of your life and led to the founding of GEANCO.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing experience. I got to go to Ghana in law school, my 3rd year of law school, and just to be on the ground in that way of service. We were trying to do legal support for the poorest of the poor in Ghana. And I got kind of exposed to the idea of being on the ground and making an impact directly on the ground. And kind of the seeds started to get planted for me to do that in my home country of Nigeria, And so it was really inspiring for me. That trip was amazing. And then to be able to get support from my law school community. One of my professors was our first donor. He basically paid for my life for 2 years, and my classmates rallied around me. And so the seeds of GEANCO and the work that we're doing to this very day were planted at Stanford Law School through that trip and through my friends and professors and that community that supported me and believed in me when I didn't have anything to go on but just a dream.
Well, you were vice president of the Black Law Students Association at Stanford. That's nothing to snuff at. Also, what's interesting about your story is there are a lot of other things you could have done. There's a lot of other things that Stanford Law grads go on to do. I understand that there were multiple lucrative corporate law jobs that you were offered, but you turned them down to lead GEANCO as their full-time CEO. Why?
Yeah, my mom to this day still asks that question. You give a lot of money to go to a country that we left because it was so crazy in a lot of ways. But no, for me, it was the question of my life is always, how can I serve? How can I serve my country, my family? How can I serve you in this conversation? How can I serve your listeners? How can I serve our donors? And so I just thought, being a corporate lawyer, yes, you can serve some clients and do well, but the opportunity to serve people who are the neediest of the needy was just so compelling to me. And it drives me every single day, the idea of service. And yes, it would be nice to be more comfortable financially and have that security. And I have friends who are doing very well in those regards. But for me, if I'm not serving, I feel like my life isn't, I'm missing half my life. I feel like my soul is chained. So being in service is something that I need in life, and this is the way that I get to express it. So I'm just really blessed to be able to have this opportunity.
Well, we're really blessed to have you here with us. This show celebrates public service. We celebrate public service. The idea of building a more perfect union isn't just something on some old, documents over there in the National Archive here in DC. But it is a commitment that we make to one another. It's a compact that we have with one another that knows no boundaries. It's really about doing what we can from where we are with what we have to help one another live out their potential. And so God bless you for the work that you're doing stateside and in Nigeria and across the continent to help our fellow humans do exactly that, live out their potential. We definitely want to have you back again because there is so much more to talk about with regard to GEANCO and some of the humanitarian work that's afoot across the continent and around the world.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here discussing these issues. And again, thank you so much.
Absolutely. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union here on KBLA Talk 1580. We've been in conversation with Afam Onyema. He is the CEO of GEANCO Foundation. And by the way, if y'all want to go and support GEANCO in any sort of way, you can go to
www.geanco.org, and that's GEANCO.org.
You heard it right there from the boss. The quiet part out loud when we come forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. And it's about time for the quiet part out loud. The New York Times intelligentsia is reporting that on sneaky ways, what they call sneaky ways, that parents transfer money to their children. Look, make no mistake about it. Part of what is happening in this moment right now in this country is that you are watching the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. But if you ever just wanted to scratch below the surface to see, well, exactly how does that happen? How does that happen in subtle and not so subtle ways? This article that was produced by New York Magazine really caught my attention, and I thought it worthy of sharing with you, particularly as we think about the quiet part out loud. Low interest loans, does that sound familiar? And it's among other strategies that stretch the gift tax limit. And so, although it may not look like it when you walk down the street with your artist friends, there are limits to how much a parent can bestow on their child, designed to thwart the wealthy's attempt to circumvent the estate tax, which after death gobbles up 40% of one's assets, over $13.99 million. The IRS gift tax stipulates that each taxpayer can give only $19,000 per year to any individual, including their kids. Any more than that, and a parent must file Form 709, which alerts the IRS that the giver is eating into their lifetime maximum, which is also almost $14 million. And so, what are some ways in which parents can really help to make your kids better off than you might have been? Ways that people don't broadcast, but this is how folks are transferring money to their children. They're doing so by establishing a trust, for example. A trust distributes parents' assets to a child according to the conditions that they set. And it gives parents control over how their assets are used. And so there's some people that are into that. However, not every trust works as an estate tax mitigation strategy. And irrevocable trust is the only way that moves assets out of parents' estate without triggering estate taxes. And so with all of this, you definitely want to consult your financial advisor. But New York Magazine is just reporting on just a few ways in which people are transferring wealth to their kids. Another way they're doing it is they're offering a below market loan. So you wanted to help your kid buy an apartment or some sort of property. You might say, I'm giving you $1 million, but it must be a loan to avoid the gift tax. It must be documented with terms and a promissory note and carry an interest rate corresponding to the applicable federal rate set by the IRS, which tends to be lower than what you would get in the market. And so that's another way in which parents are transferring their wealth to their kids. They're also getting creative with mortgages. Financial expert Farnoosh Tarabi, who's no stranger to parental support, after the fact that that's how she bought her apartment, saying that if a child can't get a mortgage themselves, a parent can buy their kid a place in cash. Then once the apartment is purchased, the child opens a home equity line of credit, also known as a HELOC, which is equal to 80% of the home's value. They pull out all the money. They pull out all the money out of that and gives it back to their parents, which puts them most of the way back to where they started. And so the child then refinances the HELOC into a fixed rate mortgage in their own name, and they're now a homeowner. And their parents have most of their initial loan. And so that's another way in which we're watching parents transfer their wealth to their kids. We also know that there are some parents out there that pay their kids' credit card bills. It's as simple as adding an authorized user to your Black Card, one phone call, and your kid has funds for daily expenses with you footing the bill. But there are experts that point out that if your child makes more than $19,000 in charges per year, you need to report it as a gift. Now, while an audit would certainly uncover such rule skirting, many parents are willing to take that risk. And last but certainly not least, hire your child. If a parent owns a business, making their kid an employee is a canny gift tax workaround. There are experts that warn that you can't overpay. The IRS will flag any egregious inflated wage, but neither can the child's hiring be, as he puts it, a wink and a nod. But if you're not bound by ethics, you could theoretically pay a child for scant work. The vast majority of some folks' clients, kids who have this arrangement, really do work at these jobs. And so these are just a few ways. I encourage people to check this out, this article in New York Magazine. You can go to nymag.com to read about it. The headline reads, "The Sneaky Ways in Which Parents Transfer Money to Their Kids." But listen, make no mistake about it. We're watching a major transfer of wealth take place in this country. And don't say I didn't tell you. These are some of the ways in which people are doing it. And so we'll have to leave it there today. My thanks to the entire village helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, Andy, our show producers, Kim and Faraji, and of course, each and every one of you, our leaders, learners, and listeners. We love you. We appreciate you. We curate this show with you in mind. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and you have been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.